If you make a ton of mistakes as soon as you start trying to be more aggressive and hit with pace, I'm going to help you with that in this video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find it beneficial. If you do, great if you give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, really appreciate it if you could do that as well. So what we're talking about here is the speed accuracy trade-off. This is a human phenomenon that when we try and do something quickly and we put forceful effort into it, our level of accuracy and control goes down. So if when you start to hit out, the mistakes creep in, that's what it's all about. And really that's where kind of biomechanics or modern biomechanics evolve from. It's combining sequential body rotations in order to create racket head speed without putting a lot of forceful effort in and trying to swat at the ball. And by using optimal biomechanics, it allows us to generate that racket head speed and still maintain control of the ball. So obviously that is the area that you're struggling with. But what we need to do is ask the question, why? Why is it that you aren't able to use those biomechanics efficiently? Why is it that you're not able to maintain control? And what that generally comes down to is one of two things. Firstly, there can be issues in terms of the visual side of things. So in order to have good timing and use good biomechanics and get a nice clean contact, you have to be able to accurately predict where and when the ball is going to arrive so that you can start your swing at the right time. I'm not going to talk about that so much in this video because I've made other videos that talk about it, and I'm going to place a link down in the description to a video that you definitely should check out, which is going to go into more detail. Here, I'm going to focus on the other side of things, which is the coordination. You have to be able to predict where the ball's going so you can start your swing at the right time, but then you have to have the coordination in order to be able to use the appropriate technique and biomechanics and adjust the speed of your swing based on the ball that you're dealing with. So what I want to do is show you two really crucial assessments that I do with players to help them figure out what's going on with their coordination. I find these assessments correlate very, very well with the level of player. Players that struggle with these assessments tend to kind of max out at a certain point in terms of their tennis performance. So I hope you find them interesting, and I look forward to hearing how you get on with them. So we're going to start out with an assessment for your hips, and I find that this is possibly the biggest predictor in terms of coordination because your hips are what drive the strokes and initiate the biomechanics. So if I'm hitting my forehand as I load into my unit turn and my final preparation, I am internally rotating into my right hip and my left hip is externally rotating. Then as I initiate and drive to start the forward swing, I'm now driving my right leg into external rotation and my left hip is internally rotating. So the ability to accurately and quickly coordinate internal, external rotation, essential for timing and maintaining power and dealing with that speed accuracy trade-off. It's going to be the opposite on the backhand. So whether it's a single hander or a double hander, now we're thinking internally rotating as I load on my left leg, right leg externally rotating, and then reversing it so that I drive into external rotation with the left leg to initiate the forward swing. The assessment itself, really simple. You're going to stand on one leg and you're going to twist your leg as quickly as you can. Now, we're going to do that on the right side, we're going to do it on the left side, and we're looking for a few different things. We're looking for the accuracy of the movement because your tennis strokes need to be accurate. We're looking for the speed of movement because you need to be able to do things accurately at high speeds. So in terms of the accuracy, we want a nice clean internal and external rotation. I've got my hands here because I don't want the pelvis moving. If the pelvis is moving and this sort of thing is going on, that is a really inaccurate hip movement that is going to massively affect your biomechanics. So we need the hips, so the pelvis staying still, the spine should be still, we shouldn't see any excess movement there. I want the whole leg rotating. So I don't want just the foot rotating, it's the whole leg, so we should see the knee twisting. We also don't want the leg moving from side to side. It's can you make a nice, clean, internal, external rotation with the whole leg. And then we're basically looking at how fast you can do that, comparing it right side to left side, looking at the speed and the accuracy. And what can start to happen for people as they go a little bit quicker, they kind of start to stutter and make double movements. But that's the hip assessment very simple, but I've noticed it's got a very good correlation with the level of play that you can achieve. It is a coordination assessment though, so you don't have to stand like I'm standing just in the middle of the court. You can be at home holding on to something for balance, because initially we just want to look at the coordination, not turn it into a balance challenge. But that is assessment 1. Now we're going to do an upper body assessment, and again I wanted to choose one of the assessments that correlates the most with kind of the level of tennis that people can play. So we're going to be looking at rapid alternating pronation and supination, which just means twisting your forearm as quickly as you can. Depending how familiar you are with the terminology, this is a massive deal in terms of your ability to hit with power and control, because pronation is this, it's turning the palm down. We use a massive amount of pronation to create topspin on the forehand, so it creates the racket head speed and in large part controls the angle of the racket head, of the racket face. On the serve, pronation, again, that's where the racket head speed comes from. We've got long axis internal rotation, the whole shoulder, and a big part of that's going to be the forearm for the speed of the shot and for the control of the shot. If we then switch over to the backhand, if I've got a single-handed backhand, I'm now using supination to create the topspin on my one-hander. If I've got a double-hander, my right hand is supinating, my left hand is pronating. So your ability to do these movements at high speed literally controls what happens to the ball. So very important assessment. Another simple one to do. Elbows are going to be touching your side. Going to hold the palm out like that. I'm going to be hitting the front and back of my palm on the same spot. So here's the target. Front and back of the hand is going to be hitting the palm. I'm not hitting the fingers, I'm hitting the front and back of the hand like so. And it should make a slapping sound each time you do it. So you're basically going to do that as quickly as you can. And again, we're looking for the accuracy and the rhythm and the speed of the movement. So in terms of accuracy, I've got to hit that same spot. If I start hitting the fingers like this, that's an inaccurate movement. If I bend my hands to try and cheat and I'm doing this, that is an inaccurate movement. If I'm hitting my wrist, that is an inaccurate movement. If I'm double hitting, so I'm like this and doing all sorts of funny things, that is a lack of accuracy. If my elbow moves away from my side, that is a lack of accuracy. So the elbows are touching the sides. I'm not squeezing in, I'm just doing it nice and gently, just to kind of standardize the movement. But that's the assessment that you're going to do. The faster you can do that accurately, the better. Obviously what happens a lot of the time is people are okay going slowly, but then as soon as they start to speed up, stuff goes wrong. And that's literally what we're assessing for in terms of your ability to hit with good timing, power and control on court. So assess the right side, assess the left side, and for both the hip and this one, it's a good idea to do 5 seconds on one side, 5 seconds on the other side, and repeat the process about 3 times. Okay, 2 very simple assessments, but also they give us a lot of information. How did you get on with them? What did you find? Was your upper body coordinated? Was your lower body coordinated? It's possible to have real deficits in upper body coordination and have a really good lower body, and vice versa. Was there issues from right side to left side, and it can be different upper body and lower body? What sort of stuff did you find? Anything that you found presents us with a massive potential to improve basically every aspect of what you do on court. If you don't think there were any deficits or anything going on, I'm going to recommend that you record yourself and watch it back, because I've done this with hundreds of people and I've never seen anyone where we couldn't find some type of deficit, and normally it's really obvious. So potentially it just means that the body awareness wasn't quite there. So it's a good idea to record yourself and see what happens. Now, in terms of addressing things, well, just any improvements in coordination are going to help you on court, but we want to correct imbalances first. So if the right hand is really coordinated and the left hand is really uncoordinated, the first priority is going to be to improve the coordination in that left hand to create balance. Same thing for the lower body. Now, a lot of players think, okay, yeah, it's okay to have poor coordination in my left hand because I'm a right-handed player. That's not the way to look at it. In order for us to have good timing, we need everything to function as well as we can. And in order for us to rotate into our forehand, that's going to be driven by the parts of the brain that deal with coordination on the left side and vice versa. So any deficits, we want to work on correcting those first. The good news is it's all very doable. with the right training. And in terms of the training, we're going to approach it in two different ways. The first way is going to be really simple. We're going to do direct coordination training. So if I find out that I've got a left hand, forearm, wrist coordination deficit, I can practice doing coordinated drills on that side. So I might practice doing wrist circles at different speeds, trying to be as accurate as I can. And this might look simple and it might look basic, but this is often where you need to start. You need to kind of remap the brain, because there's different parts of the brain that control movements in different parts of the body, and you're trying to play tennis and learn ATP style strokes, and they are really complex skills. We have to step it back a little bit and then build up. So first improving the coordination in the individual body parts, and then making it progressively more difficult over time. So wrist circles, trying to do finger and thumb circles, keeping the hand completely still and just moving the fingers. We can do the same thing for the hips, so working on circles or drawing the alphabet or something like that, just to give our brain a target to work on improving the coordination. Now, this needs to be progressed over time, just like any other type of training. Doing 3 thumb circles will not suddenly change your performance on court. We need to improve, gradually making the way that we train our coordination progressively more difficult to improve the function in these areas. Because really, we've got an idea in our minds of the sort of tennis that we want to be able to play. We need to have the visual capacity and the coordination capacity to do those things. If you want to play 5-0 level tennis, you need 5-0 skills. If you've got 4-0 skills or 3-5 skills, you're not going to play 5-0 tennis. Or maybe you just want to be a 4.0. Well, you can't do that with 3.0 level coordination. So wherever you are now, it's a case of improving up to the point that's going to allow you to play tennis in the way that you want. But that is direct training on the parts of the brain that we're trying to coordinate, progressively challenging it over time. So that style of training can take you a long way and really help you to improve your coordination, but sometimes there are other things that you might need to do, and my body's kind of a great example of this. I'd had a whole bunch of concussions, and that was one of the big reasons my tennis maxed out at a certain point when I was younger. I didn't have the skill, I wasn't able to read where the ball was going well enough, I didn't have the coordination. Because of that, my timing wasn't there, and I lived the life of a grinder. I improved a lot when I started working on my coordination, but I still got stuck at a certain point, and I had to do some kind of unusual type drills to improve my coordination. But this comes down to the parts of the brain that create and control this stuff. If you lack accuracy in your movements, so you're kind of doing a lot of double tapping and inaccurate movements, or your hips are doing funny things, we might need to target something like your balance system in the inner ear. So we might need to do training where we're looking at things and turning our head in different directions. And if you've watched some of my other videos, I talk about these being really great ways to train and improve your ball tracking, because they are. But everything works together. So you can literally test this out. You can try your hand wraps or try your hip rotations, and whichever's worse. So if your left side's worse, do a test and retest on that part of the body. Look at your thumb, turn your head 5-10 times, retest it. Very often that's going to improve the quality of that movement because of the parts of the brain that it activates. But if you struggle with the speed of your movements, we might want to think about training things in a different way. So here maybe we want to work on visual drills because of the way that activates the brain, or maybe you want to work on breathing because that can be really important for the rhythm and speed. So what I can do is test that hand movement or test that hip movement and do, a breathing exercise where I focus on breathing out and really tensing my abs as I breathe out to activate a certain part of the brain. And then you retest it and your coordination is way faster and way more efficient. So you can test that one out now as well. But they're obviously just a couple of the options of what you might need to do. Ultimately, the best way to go about this stuff is some general training to work on the coordination, and then to kind of do a series of assessments to figure out if there's brain areas that we can activate to improve function and kind of raise your level that little bit further. And if you'd like help with that, this is basically what I do with tennis players. That's what my program is all about. So I've created a masterclass to kind of teach you more about it, I'll place a link up there, and I'll place a link down in the description so you can check it out. Obviously it's a free masterclass. It's going to explain more about brain-based training, kind of how all this stuff fits together and what you can do in terms of your tennis, and it's going to explain a little bit about my program at the end if that's something you're interested in learning about, and then the next steps that might be involved. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your comments down below, so comment down below. Let me know how you got on with these assessments. Did this stuff make sense? You know, I know compared to videos that show you how to hit the forehand like Federer in 3 simple steps, this stuff can be a little bit slower to get through. But I make these videos to try and help you and ease some frustration, because I spent so many years being frustrated on court because of the issues that I'm talking about here. So I would love to hear your thoughts about what I've described and your comments on kind of how you did with the assessments. Okay? If you did enjoy it, give me that thumbs up, and I'll catch you next time.